And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another edition here of the GSL CK number 4 day 1. Your monthly dose of GSL CK action. I'm of course VIP with you and joined by these amazing players and of course by the lovely people in the chat as well. Welcome one and all to something a little bit different here. We just wrapped up with a GSL season 2, but GSL is not over. We've returned with some GSL CK action. For those that are maybe tuning in for the first time, GSL CK has been running all year, even pre-GSL season proper, in a different format, in a team league format. GSL CK 1, 2, 3, we did have more like a pro league GSTL-esque team league format with teams being kind of placed upon. I should say players picking, team captains picking, and vetoing, and establishing and constructing their teams and facing off against each other. And honestly, it was a really fun format. We even got to see some of the POVs as well. It was a really fun experience seeing all the player POVs, all the players that were all in Discord channels and Discord calls together. We also had a bunch of POV streams on Soup as well, and we got to see everything kind of come to fruition and a lot of really fun moments. And we even saw a bit of a splicing all of that. It was all kind of edited together in a fun little video during GSL season 2, so you can see a little bit of that from the foreigner side of things. Now we're back with GSL CK again with number 4, this time a different format. For those that are curious, for those that are tuning in, again, thanks to the support, thanks to the Patreon, thanks to Soup, thanks to the support that we've had from the community, it does mean that GSL CK has returned in a bi-monthly format. For those that are unaware, you can support the GSL via the Patreon, and with that support we were able to host GSL Season 1, Season 2, and these monthly tournaments. A bit of a different format again, as we mentioned, and let's jump into said format. This time, not a Team League show match, not a Team League series, instead we have a single elimination bracket. Let's go. Let us go. Let's jump on in. Oh. As you can see here, we have our single elimination bracket. With single elimination bracket, we have 8 players. 8 players in what, in my opinion, is a GSL versus the world style format. We have 8 players. We have 4 from Korea. We have 4 from Europa facing off here in that back and forth single elimination format. Up first, we have Mara versus Showtime, followed by Classic versus herO, herO versus Lambo, and Solar versus Clem. Non-stop foreigner versus Korean. Best of 5s in the quarterfinals, leading to the best of 5 semis, and then best of 7 grand finals. Let's go, baby, let's go. Also, I want to give a big shout to Soup for giving us the opportunity to jump into the Soup YouTube channel. For those that are watching, I mean, we're live on Soup on the CranKy Ducklings channel, but I believe we're going to be showcased on the YouTube channel of Soup as well. For those that may be tuning in to us for the first time, welcome. We're the CranKy Ducklings. We've been casting StarCraft full-time since 2020, basically since the COVID era of StarCraft. We've been casting full-time. We cast more StarCraft than anyone else out there, more than Wardy, more than Steadfast. Yo, we got to get the hours in, Pap. We got to. But I will say that 2026 has been a little bit leaner for us. We usually cast like twice a day. In 2026, we've been casting like once a day. We've been pulling it back a little bit, being a little bit more sane, a little bit more tame as well with our approach. And we've been calming down a little bit here, but we've been lucky enough, fortunate enough to cover GSL on Soup. Season 1 we casted, Season 2 we casted live, GSL CKs as well. I know that Trigger, he was covering the previous GSL CKs, but for this one I think Trigger is going to be taking a bit of a break, and we might even see Trigger now featured in some of these tournaments as well. I remember Trigger being very vocal about how he was offered to either cast or play, and he chose to cast at the time. Hopefully we're going to see Trigger compete in some of these GSL CKs as well. Hopefully. For now though, vetoes are underway. I did mention that up first is going to be Mara versus Showtime, but I believe the first series is actually going to be herO versus Lambo. They're currently conducting their vetoes as we speak, and then we'll be jumping into that initial best of 5. Let's go, baby, let's go. The other thing that I should say, I left this out actually, it's pretty important. This is not just a new format featuring a single elimination bracket. This is the PTR edition as well. True. We just got an update to the PTR. What, yesterday? It only just now dropped, the PTR. I mean, the update, and of course the PTR is very controversial. we have some very interesting changes being proposed, and one thing that was a concern in everyone's mind, or in a lot of people's mind, what was a big concern was whether or not there would be an update to the PTR. And those concerns, I mean, they were founded in reality. If you recall, when it came to the previous PTR, the infamous Storm PTR, there were a bunch of changes made, but they were pushed live immediately. There was no like second iteration of PTR, which allowed us to test things. Same with the Ghost changes and the Viking changes and everything else. They just made those changes and then bam, they just sent them through. There was no testing whatsoever, essentially, which was kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, kind of wild. So because of that, a lot of people were concerned that the same thing would happen here as well. That the same thing would happen in this iteration of PTR. Thankfully, there has been an update. Some feedback was provided and some feedback was listened to, and we were able to at least you know, get some kind of response to that. At least I would say there's definitely, again, discussions being had whether these changes are going to be enough, whether other changes should be proposed as well. What I'm hoping for personally is, I mean, one, we're going to be testing those changes here. True, they're going to be tested, but I would hope that we see more iteration and more kind of updates for the PTR before we push things live. Something that people have been critical of, and myself included, of course, is just how long it took for there to be an update to the PTR. It was 3 weeks before we got the update. So it's a little bit slow, but at least we got it. At least we did get it. As our players are conducting their vetoes and we're just setting things up. Yo, we got player cams as well. Let's go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So vetoes are done. We're about to jump in. Now, I've been alluding to it. When it comes to the PTR itself, and we can get a little bit closer here. When it comes to the PTR itself, when it comes to some of the changes that have been made, we have seen changes in regards to Zerg larva production. That was one of the big concerns coming into the PTR, and something that was revealed as well through the course of testing, was that the Zerg production cycle with a lower worker count and a later hatchery, and just everything being delayed, larva wasn't quite able to keep up with that, so we do have an increase in regards to larva production. That is true. There was also a bunch of changes to Protoss production as well. Obviously, one of the big controversial changes is the change to warp gate, which it has been huge, of course, and we have seen the resources required to be invested diminished. Now, instead of 50-50 to morph into warp gate, it is 25-25. Likewise, we also see that once again, warp gate has been moved from the gateway to the cyber core instead, so back to the cyber core. This does mean that you don't have to interrupt your own production to actually get your tech going, I should say. And there were a couple of other changes as well. Un momento. Just gonna open it up. As we are jumping into our first series, again, vetoes are done. Game 1 is going to be on Winter Madness. Let's go. Sorry, quickly. So the lava spawn rate was increased. There we go. Queen mineral cost was decreased from 175 to 150. We of course had the change to overlord speed. We had warp in time slowed from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. Bearing in mind that to warp in, you still don't need a gateway alongside the pylon anymore. So that is still there, but now it's going to be slightly slower when it comes to the warp in as opposed to previously. Bear that in mind. That's going to be influential and impactful in this series as we jump into our best of 5. Let's go. Let us go. We're jumping on in and spawning in the top left-hand corner. Oh, spawning in the top left-hand corner here of Winter Madness, we have the German Zerg player. We have the Red Zerg. Oh, we have the Red Zerg player himself representing Shovel Rebellion. It is Lambo. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the blue Protoss player representing T1. It is herO. Let's go. Let us go. We're jumping into our fresh best of 5, and we have our player cams as well. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Sorry, I was just setting up the player cams earlier, and I think I may have seen that zoomed in a little bit, but it's all good. It's all good. We got it fixed up. Got it fixed up and ready to go as we are jumping into our first game. Bearing in mind as well that I believe there was supposed to be an update to the PTR to add some of the TLMC maps, but that did not go through yet. It's possible that might be added in the next couple of days, but for the time being, we do have the current ladder map pool, not the TLMC map pool. So true, bear that in mind. Welcome to Winter Madness. Winter Madness is a larger map of the map pool, longer rush distance by ground, more defendable as a result as well. With that longer rush distance, we do see more defendable third bases, more defendable fourth bases, and typically we see a lot more longer games on Winter Madness. Not saying that you can't go into something more aggressive and you can't go into an all-in, but typically we do expect to see longer games here, as all-ins and aggression is going to be a little bit weaker here on Winter Madness. Now, when it comes to the PTR, this is actually my first time casting the update to the PTR. We've of course covered plenty of tournaments when it comes to the PTR itself, when it comes to online weeklies, but first time I'm going to be delving into the updated version, and again, we'll see how things have changed. Again, it's only just recently got updated, so I don't really know how much time or how many games our players have been able to invest into to be able to get a better feel for the PTR itself. May as well just throw them into the deep end, right? It's been, what, like less than 2 days? Bam, throw them into like a single elimination tournament. Let's go, Byron, let's go. Throw them into the bracket. Let them play, let them fight. For now, again, so far standard openers. Lambo force take the unnatural natural, force to expand here at the third location. Does make things a little bit awkward and can make things a little bit more difficult to defend your workers as they transfer in between the bases. But outside of that, we're just going to be calming things down. Standard openers, there's no early gas, no early... Oh, sorry, so I was going to say no early pool, except Lambo did throw in his pool a little bit further to the south here. Interesting. At a bit of a more peculiar location. Curious. As here it did confirm the said spawning pool. From here, Pro being chased down. Ooh, and the adept gets here a little bit too late. Ideally, we get here 1 second earlier. We can deny the expansion, but in the end, we do get our third hatchery. Let's go. Hatchery gets thrown down. Adept pool thrown in the mineral line. So far, Lambo's keeping up. No major losses yet. Oh. Yeah, not yet. Behind this standard follow-up, Stargate. Stargate opener here out of herO. Now, what we have been seeing when it comes to the PTR is a lot of Protoss players experiment with Robo-heavy play, with Stargate-heavy play as well, because of the complications with Warp Gate and the hoops that you had to go through to get into Warp Gate itself. We saw a lot of players actually step away from Gateway-heavy compositions into more Robo or Stargate-heavy play. Max was exploring with that a lot, herO as well, so I'm curious to see how we kind of adjust coming into the new updated PTR, especially with Warp Gate now being more accessible. More than previously. So now here we're just testing the waters. Oracle will soon be moving out. So I've been talking about the changes themselves. So of course the big change here is getting into Warp Gate and getting into Warped gateways. It is a bigger hurdle to go over when it comes to how much resources you have to invest into, and because of that we have seen a lot of Protoss players actually step away from Warp Gate and step away from gateway heavy play and be more defensive, right? Be more defensive, turtle up on 3-4 bases, and just forego early game aggression and play more towards the mid to late game instead. That's kind of what we saw a lot of in the PTR. Thankfully we are seeing Warp Gate being researched, and so far this build looks relatively standard as to what we would expect to see in the live version of the game. Twilight Council gets thrown down a little bit earlier than we would expect. Oracle pokes in. I say earlier, bearing in mind that because of the worker change, like all the timings are a little bit different. I will say though that this is an early Twilight Council. It's going to be a later Forge, and this might lead into say early Blink or even Glaive Adepts. The lack of Forge tells us that this is going to be a little bit more committed than we're used to. As upgrades going to be delayed. Station Trap is denied, and show us what is it going to be. Glaive Adepts. There we go. As you mentioned, this was one of the two options, either early Blink or early Glaives. Lack of Forge was a tell, and hero's here to deny the scout. Yeah, Lambo here attempts to figure out what's going on. Stalker's in position. Bearing in mind the Overlord is a little bit faster than the previous iteration of the PTR, despite that, we'll still not get the scout. As Lambo, I mean, it's going to be close. He will see the Twilight Council. Okay, does see the Council. Sees the researching, sees a gateway, and this isn't too much of a tell. The issue here is that for all Lambo knows, it could be a Forge right next to it here towards the south side. This could just be a standard follow-up. It's hard to tell. Safety Baneling Nest. Okay, Baneling Nest is going to be on the way. This is one way to defend against Mass Adept. Here's a way to defend. Oracle's a poke in. A secure way to shut this down would be with roaches, but banelings are acceptable as well. As the have been amassing, and here they come. Here he commits. Again, this was off of 4 gateways. Bearing in mind this is not an all-in. Behind this, delayed +1 into a robo, into 3-base saturation, into a macro game. This is a way to get ahead, not a way to kill. I mean, it could kill, true. So far, Lambo does fully wall off. The wall is going to be broken. The Lings, they attempt to collapse in. We do have 3 banelings morphing in. Yeah, the banelings are still on the way. Adepts, they do get into the mineral line. So far, 4 drone kills. This is so far acceptable losses, but did lose a queen. Yeah, queen went down. Spore as well. Banelings are ready. And we are denying mining. herO, does he commit? Yeah, it does commit into the main base. Adepts, sorry, banelings are out of position. Oh, yeah, banelings, they did not give chase. And we get another couple of drone kills. Yeah, 6 more drones go down. Banelings, they will connect, and Lambo will defend. He will defend, bearing in mind that the Spore was sniped earlier. The Oracles, they have a little bit more access. And they trade well. Shaving off more Zerglings, slowing down Lambo, and behind this, herO has a stronger economy. 68 workers here for herO, 3-base saturation. Lambo just now droning, just now saturating. Again, he didn't take game-ending damage, thankfully. Did lose mine time, did lose 6 workers, but did survive. Again, thanks to the banelings. If Lambo didn't have that safety baneling nest, this would have been a very different game. Very different. So Lambo does hold. herO claiming his 4th base. Blink is on the way, +1. Remember, this was not an all-in. herO, he does have layers to this. We have the Bay on the way for Colossus, into splash damage, into that longer game state. Likewise, Lambo himself also droning, saturating. Heavily supplied block, that's 10 overlords. Ooh, a laser. Is that you, Pappy? Ay, ay, ay. 10 overlords in production. Heavy supply block for Lambo. Ay, ay, ay. Does slow him down as he attempts to build up into Lingbane Hydra. Now, behind this, Lambo has drawn up to 80 workers. With this economy, we can start to take up a little bit further. There's no infestation pit yet. So far, it's purely Lingbane Hydra, and we'll see if Lambo does take up into Hive. Bearing in mind the Lambo is not aware as to the follow-up. I mean, typically we expect to see Storm, but we can see it's Colossus. Lambo currently unaware. Stalkers, they poke in. Stay strapped on the Zerglings. You have plenty more traps behind this as well. So nice pressure here by herO. Ooh, catching us some banelings. So far, these have been some good trades. And again, what's important here is that herO, he's applying pressure. He's denying any creep. He's keeping a Lambo busy, getting more drone kills here across the map, while herO techs up. This entire time, herO is making probes and making Colossus. Ooh. Yeah, boys are being pulled. More drones going to be going down. This is getting out of hand. 8 drones? Oh my god. 9 drones going down. And 9 drones do fall. Another massive stasis trap. A Lambo is being torn apart. Yeah, it's being torn apart here. 9 drone kills. That's more damage than the previous Glaive Adept push, to be honest. That's a lot of damage for 2 Adepts. herO races back, and now we have Colossus ready. 1, soon to be 2. Soon to be 2 Colossi. Lambo, he's committed. You can see Lambo didn't redrone. He did not redrone. He had 80 workers earlier, now down to 73, and that purely making Lingbane Hydra and no Hive. No Hive, no infestation bit. Lambo's all in. He's going for a big lair tech all in, maxing out with Lingbane Hydra. He has to end the game. He has to cripple the economy at least. Yeah, it's all or nothing for Lambo. Lings, they do get into the mineral line. Baneling speed is done. We come in from behind. We get the surround. Yeah, we attempt the surround here. Banelings, they don't quite break through. Ooh, they break through the mineral line at least, and they get on top of the Colossus. Massive connections here. 1 Colossus goes down. He gets 1. And can he get the other? He can. Yeah, hero's cornered. He's cornered. He's trapped. Though no batteries, no defensive setup here, and herO will lose everything. The base and the army. And Lambo, he snowballs out of control. He snowballs out of control. He breaks the base. He can just keep going from here. We see herO trying to take up into Sky Toss, but it's too late. Too late, Pappy. Yeah, it's too little too late. As Lambo, he's overwhelming. Funnily enough, herO, he has cannons set up here, batteries as well. This would have been a much stronger position to defend on, but herO, he did commit to defending his 4th base. He got surrounded, he got locked down. And Lambo looking to keep things off with a lead here, with a win in this best of 5. As hero's losing all his cannons, being forced further back, he's down to 1 Colossus. Oof. And there's no stopping Lambo. There's no stopping Lambo. takes down both of the oracles. And again, herO did an amazing job harassing. Like, I don't want to take away from that. herO, he was popping off with the adepts. He was doing so much. He was building up to Colossus. But again, just a really rough defense here at the 4th base led to this outcome. And with that, we're down to a handful of adepts. We got 1 observer. GG. GG gets called, and Lambo takes game number 1. Whew. GG. Again, GG, well played. Lambo does take lead in the series. Again, herO, he honestly had a really strong opener when it comes to the adept damage, when it comes to the follow-up as well, when it comes to the stalkers being active on the map as well. It just came down to the main push here from Lambo, committing on 4 bases, cutting workers at 73, maxing out with Lingbane Hydra. This is also a situation where herO, if he had a bit of a different setup or just a different approach, then I could definitely see a defense happening there. Because it was purely Lingbane Hydra, this is where sentries and force fields can excel. Likewise, on top of that, we saw that, I mean, what was more important than that, I would say that herO, he was cornered, right? Like, he was forced to be pushed further back into his 4th base. There was no way to kite back, and likewise, he had no defensive setup at his 4th base either, like he did at his 3rd. So just a really unfortunate position for herO to try to hold on to try to defend. But GG. GG, well played with that Lambo. He snowballs out of control, and now we're jumping to game number 2, going to be loading into Ruby Rock. Let's go. Let us go. Likewise, you can also argue that the gateway army there from herO is going to be a little bit smaller because we're spending resources on the warp gates themselves to be able to reinforce, to be able to actually get into the production as well. That is also another factor, is that herO's army is going to be smaller than on the live version of the game. That is true. But here we go. So we're loading into game number 2. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Ruby Rock, we have the German Zerg player. We have the blue Zerg leading the series 1-0. It is Lambo. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the red Protoss player. We have the South Korean Protoss representing T1. It is herO. I'll fix up the colors. Beautiful. As we are jumping into game number 2 here, and welcome to Ruby Rock. Ruby Rock is a smaller map of the map pool, shorter rush distance by ground, and aggression is typically more favored here. Speaking of aggression, we saw last game, both players did build up to a 4-base economy. Lambo at one point even had 80 workers, and then off of that bolstered economy was able to just commit and just hammer down that lair tech all in, going Lingbane Hydra. Here on Ruby Rock, we don't really expect the players to build up into as high of an economy. We're expecting aggression off of 3 bases instead of 4. Those are our expectations. We'll see if our players meet those expectations, or if we take a different route. Already, gateway in the main. Huh. So usually we expect to see our initial SimCity setup here on the low grounds, but I guess because of the low worker count, there's potential for, say, an earlier pool and more aggression. herO's taking a much safer approach here with this production setup, but this does make it more difficult to set up on the low ground later to expand. So interesting decision here from herO. Something that's very rare in PvZ, to be honest. Very rare. Likewise, no probe scout. Wait, what? Huh. Hold on, I'll let him cook. What's going on? So 0 probe scout out of herO. Blind hyper defensive setup in the main. Going gate cyber expands. Interesting. But again, this does mean that the wall here on the low ground is going to be that much weaker. It's going to be that much later. There's going to be some aggressive opportunities for Lambo early on. And Lambo, he will scout, he will confirm. Like, typically, if the second pylon is going to be down here on the low ground, if we open up Stargate, is the Stargate going to be a part of the wall? That'll just be free information for Lambo when it comes to the Stargate, when it comes to the building or the unit being made from the Stargate as well. Curious. So again, Lambo should have free vision of whatever gets thrown down here. Now Lambo pulls out of gas, only link speed, so we're not going into, say, an early Roach Warren or an early Baneless. He's not tempted to all in, at least not with a higher form of tech. For now, just droning. Droning, saturating. Stargate further back in the main. Again, like I feel uncomfortable. Like not even a Protoss player, but like looking at this setup here, like oh my god, it feels crazy. It's wild, pappy. As herO now starts working on the wall. And we're calming down. So from here, we're just going to be joining up. When it comes to Ruby Rock itself, we alluded to aggression and how we have a shorter rush distance by ground. On top of that, the third base is more open and more accessible. Likewise, there's that pathway leading directly into the third. There's no like high ground advantage or elevated position here. Likewise, we do see a bit of a more accessible linear third base as well. And this area in between the bases can also be pounced upon. You can also take control of this central area to outposition your opponents and potentially push directly into the natural as well. So eyes are going to be on Lambo to see how aggressive he plans on being. This time, Roach Warren gets thrown down. Remember, last game, what was the tech of choice? Baneley Nest, right? It was Ling Bane Hydra out of Lambo. This time, early Roach Warren, no early Evo Chamber. This time, a much more Roach heavy start. This could also be leading into Muta play. It is not uncommon to open Roaches and then go for a Lair and then go for a Spire thereafter as well, assuming we even get a Lair. So eyes are on Lambo. We'll see how committed he's going to be, whether this is for safety or to commit into a Roach heavy style. Now Lambo does get eyes on the third. The Oracle is staying back. Funnily enough, herO has seen nothing this game. He has zero vision, zero scouting, not even with the Oracle. Forge is going to be thrown down as a part of the wall. This is a Forge before Twilight Council this time. Interesting. Remember, last game we did take note of the fact that we had a very late Forge. That was one of the signs of Glaive Adepts. Here, very early Forge as opposed to that. I'm not really used to seeing a Forge this quickly with a Twilight Council being so late. Oracles, they move in, they get 1, 2, up to 3 drone kills. The Oracles, they overstay their welcome a little bit here, but 4 drones go down and the Oracles do barely get away. At the same time, Lambo does move in, and can we force a cancel? We get a surround. There, we collapse on the Adepts. Oracle's out of position, we're going to get 1, we might even get a Stalker. And we have plenty more Adepts here to protect the Stalker, but that's still going to be 2 Adepts going down. Nice pickoffs, nice damage. Again, Lambo abusing the fact that the Oracles did move out, and do you see what I see? I see a German taxi. From the German himself, true. Lambo did popularize this build a long time ago, but we have Pneumatized Carrot Base on the way. We have the Lair lined up as well. We spoke earlier how aggression is favored on Ruby Rock, and hey, we're seeing that aggression. We also said that, hey, we expect aggression under 4 base economy. Here it is, 53 workers, Roaches, Queens, and Drop Lords are coming. So we're loading up, we're setting up those taxis, we're about to be loading up for the all-in across the map. herO's throwing down 1 battery here at his third. I don't believe herO's confirmed this. And again, herO, his tech is late. Remember, it's late blink this game because of the early Forge and the early +1, and that's going to hurt more than help, right? The early +1 is going to be hurting here. Adept say shade into the mineral lines, a couple of drones do go down. I mean, this is nice damage, the Roaches are spotted, and now herO knows. And now herO's more aware. Now you can see him throw down a wall of shield batteries, but this is too late. The realization is too late, papi. Ay. The army is here. That's a little links going down to the Oracles. Queens, they drop in. Yeah, Queens will distract. Flush Transfuse. Barely keeping 1 Queen alive. Dropping over the wall. The natural's been broken, and all these batteries don't matter. These batteries at the third base, they do not matter. We're breaking the natural. Ooh, the Oracle gets sniped. 1 Oracle left. And we're breaking through. We're just busting on through here. Stasis Trap will not complete. Stalkers that get zoned away, they are going to be safe here at the third location, but the natural is vulnerable. The natural's exposed and it's being broken. +1 may actually finish. It may kick in, but GG gets called. With that Lambo, he will claim a 2-0 lead in the series. GG. Whew. Actually, can I do this? Oh, there he is. Ah, let's go. Este Lambo. But here we go. GG well played. Again, winding it back here, Lambo going for the all-in, going for the German taxi. Again, herO, he was working with very little information this game. No probe scout, delayed Oracle move out as well. And we saw that by the time herO realized what was going on, it was too late. You saw him react with all those batteries, but that was already when the all-in was coming across the map, already knocking down that front door. Right, it was already too late at that point, and with that Lambo, he did overwhelm. Did break through. Likewise, the build itself also was hurting herO, as we tried to emphasize. The early forge and early +1 doesn't really matter when the game is going to end before +1 kicks in. This means that Blink was late, right? Blink was delayed in favor of +1, so that also, again, was working against herO. herO was kind of setting up for a longer game, was setting up for the mid game, but the game ended before we got there. GG. GG, well played, and with that, we're going to be loading into game number 3. Potentially the final game of the series. Oh my god. Potentially. I should also mention as well that because of the way the warp gate works as well, like there is a higher chance that Protoss players, and herO last game as well, like he was a little bit less, he was more reluctant to move out with the oracles to be active on the map early on, just to be safe because he was working with so little information, but also because he had no reactive warp ins either early on as well, right? That was not going to be as much of a factor. But here we go. We'll get into it. It's spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the Old Republic. We have the South Korean Protoss player. We have the red Protoss down in the series. Can he bounce back, and can he make a series out of this? It is herO. Oh, that's the... hold on. There we go. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the blue Protoss player, the blue Protoss himself, the German... sorry, a little bit out of it. The German Zerg player for Shopify, it is Lambo. Sorry, switching colors. There we go. Beautiful. So I was just setting up our players, setting up the casting tool before jumping in. Whew, aye. But again, it was a really peculiar build that we saw out of herO. Again, limited vision, limited scouting, limited harass with the Oracle, and also a greedier build as well on a smaller map. In the end, it did fall apart there for herO. It felt like the build itself was a little bit more experimental, and I could see it working better on a larger map like this. Welcome to the Old Republic. I can definitely see you getting away with a little bit more greed here, as this is a larger map. On a map like Ruby Rock, though, I feel like that's a map that you can't really be that greedy on, be that experimental, as you'll get punished, you'll get all in. Meanwhile, welcome one and all to the Old Republic. Again, larger map of the map pool, longer rush distance by ground, but there are other features here. The biggest one, of course, is how accessible the 4th and 3rd bases are. We have seen many a Protoss player and Terran player struggle to expand on this map in the live version of the game, let alone the PTR, so this is where I lean towards Lambo. This is where I'm going to be leaning towards Lambo here. This is a map where typically Zerg players are much more comfortable on. We typically expect 3 to 4 base all-ins. So cutting workers at 70 or cutting workers at 80 and committing on Lingbane Hydra is very, very common on the Old Republic. Otherwise, we could see Muta play as well. That's something that we have not yet experienced from Lambo in this series, but something that we can always kind of mix in every now and then as well. Of course, some maps are better than others, just in regards to the layout of the map, a layout of the bases, and trying to maneuver between them. We'll see. For now, pulls out of gas, just getting link speed, droning, saturating, and soon to be claiming a 3rd base as well. Everything's looking standard from Lambo. Likewise, once again, Stargate opener out of herO. Now, when it comes to the early game, herO should be fine when it comes to building up and claiming a 3rd base. This time, herO does probe scout. True, I should emphasize that, considering the fact that we had 0 scouting last game until far, far later. herO pokes in, throws down the pylon, will attempt to delay. Ideally, we delay and we buy enough time for the Adept to arrive, but Lambo, he just expands on the low ground. Oh my god, no fear. Yeah, no fear out of Lambo, does expand here on the low ground. This is a more exposed expansion, that is true, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. It also means that Lambo can spread creep across the map even faster with this forward 3rd base. I mentioned earlier that we expect aggression on this map, and this is a bit of a sign of that to come. It is a sign, it's a bit of a tell. Meanwhile, Void Ray. Void Ray opener out of herO, not Oracle. With this, we can hunt down the Overlords, we can deny vision, deny scouting. This can lead into, say, a Tempest Rush. Doesn't have to, but it does suddenly allow the Protoss player to hide their tech and be a little bit more experimental with it. A little bit more cavalier, a little bit more bold. Of course, the real strength behind a Void Ray opener is that the Zerg player doesn't know. It could be a Fleet Beacon into a second Stargate into a Tempest Rush, it could be a Twilight Council into like a charge-based all-in, or it could be a standard game, a Forge, a Twilight Council, and a +1 and Blink. Could be standard, could not be. Regardless, it's harder to scout. But now Lambo joining back at home, saturating his bases. So far, so good. Oh, second Void Ray. Hello. You have my attention here. Making a second Void Ray here is much more peculiar. You only need one to hunt down Overlords. Getting a second one is a sign of things to come. Are we planning to go for a Fleet Beacon in the second Stargate? Are we planning to go into charge? There it is. +1 air attack. We're going for the Sky Toss. We're going for Sky Toss. We're going into the rush. Technically, as the Ling does... this looks like Warp Gate. True. We did skip Warp Gate earlier, so this actually doesn't really confirm. Seeing the Cybercore research like this is no confirmation. Second Stargate's on the way. Now, the question becomes, is this going to be the beginning here of a rush into Tempest or Carriers, or are we just going mass Void Ray into a ground army as well? Now, Lings they poke in. They don't really see anything yet. The additional Void Rays should be remaining hidden in the main. So far they are. Likewise, Lambo is joining, saturating once again, going for a Roach Horn into an Evo Chamber, into a lair as well. Taking his gases, building up into the mid-game. There's no major signs of aggression here. Lambo has already surpassed the drone count of the previous game. Remember, last game we caught workers at around 53. Here we're already at 67. So we're droning, saturating. Personally, I'm still waiting for either a Fleet Beacon or a Twilight Council. I'm waiting for one or the other. We're still just going mass Void. Oh my god, we're going we're going back to 2020. Ay. The COVID era of StarCraft. There are some dark and repressed memories there. There it is. There's that Fleet Beacon. Meanwhile, Lambo is going for the Spire. If you recall, we did bring this up last game when we saw the Roach Horn, talking about how Spire play and meter play is something that you can get into post Roach Horn. We're seeing that here. I'm not saying that Lambo is aware of the attempted mass Void Ray, not at all, but he himself is just getting ready for meter play, and he will have access to Corruptors. Now he knows. Yeah, now he sees, now he knows. Does spot the mass Void Ray. Fully aware. Winning Queens. And you can see here more Queens are being built, they're being produced. Queen production has begun, and Queen alongside Corruptors can hold their own against Void Rays. Corruptors by themselves, they just melt, they just evaporate. But alongside support, alongside Transfuse, different story. Mothership is on the way. Rushing to the Mothership. Oh, actually no, we're committing to the mutas, okay. We are committing. I'm curious if if Lambo commits to hunting down these voids, or if he just goes across the map with the mutas and just hits the mineral lines. Like, we could just ignore this. Like, the Queens are holding their own. Yeah. Queens, they hold their own. Lambo, he cuts workers at 70. Did lose a fourth expansion. That is true. But he commits. Voiders in position. Roaches are deflected. So far, nice deflection. Here we got Flux Veins on the way. Do you have our Flux Veins? How many meters have we built up? So far 12. Soon to be 14 meters. Queens are keeping up. And ideally, regardless of how the fight ensues, Lambo, he wants to fight on his terms with his Queens. As another expansion is denied. Massing out more Queens. Sorry, more mutas, I meant to say. Building on more mutalisks. Carrier production has begun. We are trying to rush Carrier. This is where I become a little bit concerned here for the Mass Muta. Mass Muta, it's going to have like one big surprise factor. That is true, and can very quickly overwhelm. But as time goes on, here he is looking to perfect his army. Of course, there's still no splash damage. There's no Archons, there's no High Templar, there's no Storm. So mutas can still excel. And they will hit the natural. Complete surprise, nothing in position. Yeah, there's nothing here. Nothing here. Getting up to 11 probes. Oh my god, so quickly. 12 probes go down, diving into the main base, going for the production. At the same time, the queens, they try to break forward. They distract the main army. Void Rays do respond. They're on their own. They're being focused down. Getting 1, 2, 3 Void Rays. Getting up to 3, getting up to 4. We could just get all 5. Yeah, massive pickups here. Carriers that will deflect. Queen's moving in. Cloak was already activated, so no more cloak. Oh, and this is going to be a one-way trip for the queens. I'm a little bit concerned. As the carriers, they're going to be responding. Queens are moving in. Mutas are being thrown away. And I don't think these queens can make it back home here. They have to make a stand. As we have how many carriers so far? 4. 4 carriers so far. Queens being focused down. Getting 1, 2, 3 queens. Does take down the mineral line at least. But we have to get out of here. Like, we gotta... So some hefty losses here to Lambo, losing the majority of the queens. That's what, 8 queens going down. And behind this, now we have the corruptors on the way. So that was a big overextension here from Lambo. Catching out some of the workers was nice and all, but losing all those queens does hurt. You can see here Lambo's rebuilding those queens. Has to rebuild. You could make an argument that it might have been worth it just to kill all those workers, just to keep the economy low for herO, because this is slowing him down, right? herO, he's now going to mass Phoenix, but this is too late. We're done with mutas. It's corruptor time. It's time for the corruptors. We're done with the mutas. So hero's getting baited into Phoenixes. Whereas right now, Archons would be ideal, right? We need Archon, Storm. As hero's going pure Sky Toss. He's again, very like 2020-esque. I do recall a bunch of games there where players would just go pure Sky Toss and at times to their own detriment would avoid spellcasters and avoid Archons. But there it is, Twilight Council is now on the way. Second Cybercore. This is the first sign of Storm of Archons. Hero's getting there. It's getting there. Lambo's maxing out. We have how many corruptors? We have 19. 19 corruptors. 10 queens. Hive is on the way. I will say that the infestation bit was late. We did notice that it was thrown down after the fact. So late infestation bit, late hive. Late spellcasters. And herO, he's turtling up very hard here. Cannon, shield batteries. Once again, the National's exposed. Still no stack defense here in the mineral line. Ay, ay, ay. The space is going to go down. Army has to respond. And we do pick up a couple of free Phoenixes. And pulls away, killed the expansion. Lings being deflected. Did notice Warp Gate finishing up, or on the way. But I don't believe there's a Temple Archives yet. Yeah, not yet for herO. Bold position here, going for the Temple Archives. Bold position just because specifically this area is very vulnerable. There's a world where these corruptors can go back in and they can potentially even snipe some of this tech. So very vulnerable tech structures. There we go. herO, he starts throwing down cannons, aware, I'm sure, of just how vulnerable the tech is. hero's maxing out. I would say these Phoenixes at this point are dead supply and he does want to get rid of them. As there are 2 mutalisks. As things they flood in, the walls of the wall. herO! But these things, they shouldn't really get much done here. They nibble away at the workers. They get a full scout confirming the mass carrier. How many carriers do we actually have here? 11! Okay, Jesus. 11 carriers. And Storm has begun. Now, we do not expect herO to push until Storm finishes. So he's been defending and turtling up this entire game. Once Storm is done, and once we have some High Temple and some Archons, then herO can push. Right? Then he'll be able to perfect his army. And here they come. High Templar now morphing in. This is where, there we go. This is where we need Lambo to set up his spore forest. So we have the spores being set up, but more bases being taken. Claiming more map control. Vipers, they move in, they get 1, 2 abductions, nice pickups. Yeah, Storm is not yet ready, so no punish. Getting a 3rd carrier, very nice. Getting to 4. 4 carriers go down. And again, a big reason why this could happen is because there was no punish with the Ground Army, with High Templar, with Archons, with Storm. Now we have Tempest on the way. This is why, like, there are some people that sometimes bring up carriers and be like, oh, yeah, why don't players like play with more mass carrier in late game ZVP? Well, carriers are inferior to Tempest when it comes to these kind of late game compositions. Tempest, because of their greater range and because of ideally Revelations, they can punish the Vipers as they try to abduct. Meanwhile, carriers with their lower range and their lower ability to punish, they just get picked apart. Like at this stage of the game, we want to get rid of these carriers. We want more Tempest. We still need to perfect this army. As the era of carrier has come and gone. Meanwhile, Ultra production has begun. So a nice addition here to the army for Lambo. When it comes to Ultra tech and Ultra play, the goal here is to force out Storms and to catch the High Templar. Bearing in mind that ideally the army here is going to be Tempest, Mothership, Archon, High Templar. And if Ultras can get on top of the Templar, they'll be able to shut them down, or at least force all the Storms, which will allow the air army to move in. So the Ultras, they have a job to do. Well, let's go. Going for the Microbial Shroud. Fungal and Parabomb combo here on the Void Rays. Ooh, and the army is stacking. Army does stack. This will strip away the shields at least. I'll strip the shields away. We have 6 more Templar morphing in. Yeah, here comes the first wave of Archons. I love that Lamb is doing all this with just one Ultralisk. Just the one. It's putting in the work. Oh no. Flash transfuse. So let's keep the Ultra alive. Here is now established a 5th expansion. It's up and running. Slowly claiming more bases. Hero being very bold here. Gotta be careful. Pushing deep onto creep. Now engaging with the Spore Forest. Oh, Fungal does land. Looking down the army, and we tried to dive in. Nice Storms. Yeah, nice Storms. Nice feedbacks as well. Oh my god, massive Storms on the army. Corruptors to get zoned away. But do we have another Storm? Oh, we do. Yeah, another Storm zones. Queens are falling, but we're running out of support here. There's no more Storm. Yeah, no more Storm, no more Archons. We got to recall. We got to get the hell out of here. Yeah, there's no supportive army. Ultras aided well. And Hero lost everything. Or he lost the majority of his forces. Hero losing 7 carriers. Losing all of his High Templar. You saw that as soon as the Templar and Archons went down, bam, we could just collapse in. And they could collapse in. And with that fight going awry, Hero's stuck at home. He's stuck at home, he has to rebuild his army, got more Void Rays on the way, Immortal production has begun. We knew there's Immortals for the Ultralisks. But I believe there's only one Robo. Yeah, only one Robo. The reality is that Hero doesn't have the bank to sustain this. You can see that Hero, he has no gas bank. He has no gas. So these have been some expensive losses. You can see Hero warping in Zealots. The soup is lying. The supply, I mean. Corruptors that dive in. Nice snipe. We do tank a lot of Storms, though. That's a lot of Storms on the Corruptors. Mothership did go down. Maybe we gotta calm down with these spores. We don't really have the supportive army for it. Nice Zealot run by. As also catch out 6 more workers. Distracting Lambo. As run by as they continue. I mean, hey, it's a good way to make use of the mineral bank at least. As also make their way across the map, they find more drone kills. Tempest are reamassing. We're making 3 Immortals at a time as we're up to 3 Robos. Jesus. It's a lot of Robos. But for the most part, Lambo should be okay here. Again, Lambo, he's built up his ultra count, he's built up his bank as well. 8,000 minerals, 5,000 gas. With herO pushing onto creep and pushing forward here, it's going to be so difficult to gain ground as Lambo can afford to rebuild and remax. herO, he has to hope that he's able to dominate a fight, then push forward, then knock down bases. Like, yes, he has to take advantage of that window of that timing after taking a very strong fight. It's only if he can take it, though. Otherwise, Lambo, he can remax. Oh, that's a kill, not a cancel. We're slowly gaining ground, throwing down the wall of cannons. Let's go. And he's setting up here in the center of the map, claiming the high yield gas base as well. I would say this is a little bit on Lambo. Ideally, this base would have been taken earlier, and Lambo could have taken some resources away from herO. Oh. So land a couple of feedbacks. Yeah, massive storm. The fumble, though. Yeah, it does land the fumble. The ultras are going to be moving in. Trying to get them over the High Templar. Storms, they do graze the army. We collapse here on top of the Tempest, and Tempest are going to be going down. Yeah, massive pickups, and with that Lambo, he does it. Crushes the main army. Tempest go down, and herO cannot keep up. Not like this. Yeah, hands off the keyboard. Ay, ay, ay. And GG gets called. Lambo, he will claim the series at 3-0. GG. Whew. No. I want to show Lambo for a little bit. GG. GG. Well, he's so happy. Kappa. GG, well played. Lambo does claim the series. Speaking a little bit about that last game here, bearing in mind that, once again, this is something that we have been seeing quite a lot of in the PTR, and this is more hyper defensive play. We've been vocal about it. If you haven't tuned into our discussions on the PTR, you may not be familiar. But due to the changes to Protoss in the PTR, it has made Protoss players be more defensive. It has made them be less aggressive. The reasoning for this is because the commitment into a gateway composition is now greater. It takes more resources. So we've been seeing a lot of this from players like herO, MaxPax as well, experimenting with the idea of being hyper defensive and getting into Sky Toss and trying to turtle up. But as we saw here, Lambo, he was already set up with the Spire. He dealt a lot of damage early on. It took a really long time for herO to really get the ball going, and even then he was stuck with, I'm still against the idea, and I should have vocalized this a little bit more at the time, about going into 11 plus carriers. Like, it was a heavy carrier count. As he mentioned, carriers don't really scale too well into a longer game, so here he was stuck maxed out with mass carrier. He had to lose that army, rebuild, refine his army as well, but he had to do that so often. Meanwhile, Lambo was able to build up that massive bank, and there was nothing to really stop him. We had some really nice Zealot run-bys, of course, credit where credit is due. Really nice Zealot run-bys out of herO to get some economic damage, but by then Lambo, he already had 8,000 minerals in the bank, right? He could afford those losses at that time. It was a little too late to deal that economic damage. And with that, GG. With that, GG, well played. With that, Lambo, he will claim the series. He will advance on in the brackets, and let's catch up. Let's catch up with the bracket. Let's figure out where we are and where we are headed. Let's go. Let us go. So as you can see here, Lambo, he does advance on to face off against the winner of Solar and Clem in the next round in the semifinals. Likewise, in the upper portion of the bracket, we do have Maru, Showtime, Classic, and Rainer looking to face off as well. Every series will be casted. Bear that in mind. We'll be covering all the series, covering all the matches. And again, Lambo, he is done for the day. Bearing in mind, this is a 2-day event, so we just covered day one. Sorry, we're covering day one here, which is the quarterfinals. Tomorrow will be the semis and grand finals thereafter. For now, we're going to be going on a short break. Videos are underway, and we'll soon be back with our next matchup. We'll soon be back with our next series. We'll see you soon after that break. See you soon. Bye. See you soon.